All right, guys, here we are, another week of the Monday Huddle. We are live, bringing you tools, tips, tricks to beat your Monday. I'm so excited for the topic on today. I'm G.
I'm Derek.
Tell us what we got.
Y'all know we start with a quote, so we're going to jump on in today. No niceties. We're going to jump right into our Monday Huddle. This quote says, "Let no feeling of discouragement prey upon you. And in the end, you are sure to succeed." That's our guy, our friend, somewhat controversial, Abraham Lincoln. You know, he comes with his baggage, but everybody does. I'll read it one more time. One more time. It says, "Let no feeling of discouragement prey upon you. And in the end, you are sure to succeed." First of all, I want to talk about like the language of the day. Like sometimes when I hear old language, it feels romanticized to me. Like when they come with the D and the thous and the,
And the arts.
You know, I'm like, that's kind of smooth. And so he says, "Let no feeling of discouragement prey upon you." That pray, P-R-E-Y, not P-R-A-Y, that heavy being associated with discouragement, like that combination is huge. Like, what do you feel? Like, how do you feel about the praying, like the heaviness, the prowling, the chasing after you, like, how do you feel about that word?
You know, I have a hard time with the word feeling.
Okay.
Right? Because you can't trust your emotions.
Do they be lying to you?
No, man. Well, you know, emotions will lie to you. Emotions will have you spending more money than you want to. Emotions will have you in a relationship longer than you should.
Listen.
Emotions will stop you from starting new projects. And so when I think about feelings, immediately it causes me to put my feelings in check. Like you were talking about how the praying and all of that, I wanted to run.
Like, yeah.
So, you know, when I think about the feelings, right, immediately I have to bring my emotions into check because that word pray, that means defeat. That means like you're being conquered. That means that you're down and not up.
Yeah.
And so I'm challenged by the whole emotional piece and the feeling of this thing. And I personally don't want to be a prey to anything.
So when I think about prey, I think of like the jungle. I think of like we are fond of a book, and it talks about like the enemy's whole job is to like seek and to like destroy and to chase after you. And I think of like a lion, and I think about being like a piece of meat. And the lion is just like ripping me apart. And I know we're talking about Mondays, and sometimes it feels like Mondays can do that to your hopes and your dreams and your list and your aspirations and everything that you set out for. Monday just comes and it's like, it just hits you every time. And so before we started this episode, G came up with 2 killer points that we want to get pray and disappointment out of here. You said there are 2 ways that disappointment can manifest or show or present itself in our lives. What are those 2 ways?
So one way is people discouraging you. You know, so you're trying to come up out of the hood, so to speak.
Woo!
You trying to break some things in your bloodline, and now your family thinks that you're better than everyone else, right? And so there's that discouragement that comes externally.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's the internal discouragement, and that's the time that you tried that thing and it didn't work out, or that time that you really gave your best effort and you thought, this is it, this is my next get-rich-quick scheme, and I'm gonna make it, and it doesn't work out, and then you become discouraged. So the 2 I would say are external from people and internal from how your mind captures and processes information.
You ain't gonna be nothing. I seen people try to do this and they failed. You know how many people fail? Like they just own you. It's just like, I don't even know why you trying. Your daddy wasn't nothing. Your uncle wasn't nothing. Your brothers wasn't nothing. I don't know why you think going to school. I don't know why you taking that job, working for the man. I don't know why you going to like just that.
Yeah.
That feels icky to me.
It doesn't feel good, does it?
But even worse than that is when we do it to ourselves.
And we often do it. And sometimes we look in the mirror and do it. And you know, there's some people that actually look in the mirror, cry. They're watching themselves cry. They're like, look what you've been through. You did it
It's not funny, G.
again.
It's not funny.
And over and over and over, we're like pray, and it's almost like we set ourselves up.
Yeah.
What do you think about people that sabotage themselves?
Man, it reminds me of this. I think it was Mad TV or Saturday Night Live, and it was this guy that was at this Thanksgiving dinner, and he comes in and they're like, "Hey, you want something to eat?" And he's like, "Sure." And he sits down and he's eating, and everybody's talking, and the only thing you hear is like his fork hitting the plate, and it's like, and it turns back, like the camera goes away, and it comes back, and he's like, "Somebody help me stop!" And he's like still eating, and he's like, "I can't quit." And he's got this gun to his head. He's like, "Ah!" And he's like eating his food. And I think sometimes we do that to ourselves. It's like we only hang to or go back to what is familiar, and if failure is what's most familiar, then we'll find ourselves in that place over and over and over again because success is foreign to us. That was a lot of F's, by the way. I wasn't trying to do the alliteration.
That was good, though.
But
right?
like sometimes when failure is the only thing familiar to us, we find ourselves in that place over and over and over again because success is foreign. And so for us, it's like, how do we break that cycle of disappointment? Like if Abraham Lincoln in this quote today says that we find ourselves in this place of disappointment, and disappointment has preyed on us over and over and over again, then what can we do to prevent ourselves from being in that familiar space? Well, if it's externally, then I think we can easily remove some of those voices in our lives. And not maybe it's hard because their voices are mom, or our dad, or our brother, or our sister, or if we're partnered up and we have a spouse, maybe they're that voice, or it's our kids or people that we work with. Like if we're trying to eliminate that prey of disappointment coming from the outside, then maybe we can change our environment. Not only eliminate people, but maybe introduce new people into the environment that have a positive perspective. So before I go into like what we can do internally, G, talk to us a little bit about like changing that external environment as to break that cycle of self-sabotage.
Yeah, that's good. And man, you are hitting a lot of nails on the head with all that you're stating. I mean, think about this. Like if you are in a room and it's hot, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the thermostat.
I'm going to change the air, yeah.
If it's too cold, what are you going to do?
I'm going to turn the heat up.
Right. And so oftentimes we're quick to try to change certain atmospheres, but we fall subject to others. Right. So you're saying, you know what, let's remove some individuals that are bringing us down, right? That are serving as downers. But not only remove them, we have to change our circle.
Wow.
We have to bring people that will lift us up. You know, we have to bring people around us that will give us the tools. One of the things that I've had to learn in my life, growing up in the hood in Brooklyn, New York, in a tough neighborhood, there was a language that I knew there. Yo, what's up, kid? What up, son? Yo, dapping it up and all of that stuff. And then I became an adult, right? And a professional. And I had to learn middle-class norms, and I had to go to job interviews that were making a significant living and a great income and something I was going to help my family. And so I didn't go in there and was just like, "What up, son?"
On Monday, pour you a cup of coffee. What's up?
You know, what up, kid? No, listen, I had to learn something new.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I didn't know, and so I had to get people around me that were in that environment and began to coach me. And so as a part of releasing yourself from some of those external things that serve as discouragement is get around people that will lift you up, that will teach you how to win, how to teach you what a winner looks like.
Yeah.
Get around people that are or have been where it is that you're trying to go. So get to a place where you are comfortable with changing the thermostat.
Yeah.
And not allowing yourself to just become a thermometer.
So 2 things that he said. I don't want y'all to let this like slide by you. We're about 10 minutes in. We got about 10 minutes to go, but I want to pause right here. He said not only change the people, because you can change the people. You can bring people in. You can remove people. You can turn certain people up. You can turn certain people down. Not only change the people, but change the environment as well. Right? Sometimes we may not be able to remove people in and out as much as we want to, but sometimes we can remove ourselves and put ourselves in different spaces. And I think if our intent is to grow, if our purpose is to grow, if our desire is to grow and change, then not only do we have to change the people, but we have to change the input as well.
Right, that's right.
And he talked about not only, because I love the environment, I love the thermostat thing, because what I can do in a room, I don't know about y'all, but we grew up, we didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
And so sometimes when I couldn't go and turn that thermostat up or down, I had to go put on clothes. I had to either layer up or lay it down, right?
Yeah,
if it got
correct.
real hot, we were sitting around in swimming trunks, no shirt on, watch TV with a box fan in the window, trying to cycle that air through. And then sometimes when it was cold, we would layer up, and I'd be in there with hoodies and socks. So I can change myself if I can't change the environment. So sometimes when I can't change where I am, I have to change where I am.
Yeah.
That's good.
So listen to this story. There was this lady that she got sick. She went to the hospital, family took her to the hospital, and so she had to be hospitalized for a period of time. And so there was someone already in the room, and so now there's kind of like bunkmates, so to speak, right? And so there's this curtain that divides the both of them, and they always had it closed, and she was so negative, and she would just always be like, I hate being in here, this hospital food is nasty, it doesn't have any salt, can I get some hot sauce? She would just be upset. But every day at noon, her little bunk partner would say, oh, there's the parade, it's coming through again. And oh, look at the clowns, they're juggling. It's amazing, the floats that they have and just kind of painting it. And it would bring a little bit of peace to the lady who was complaining the entire time because of a situation, right? And so every day, all day, she would complain. Every day at noon, her roommate would talk about this amazing parade that was passing by. One day, her roommate was released from the hospital. And so the other one, the negative individual, was just kind of like, you know what, nurse, listen, now that they're gone, can you put me by the window because I need to see this parade that I've been hearing about for several weeks now. And the lady said, ma'am, there's no window in the room. Your roommate was blind. And so the roommate was changing her perspective and changing the environment of where she was at, and it made her feel different than what she was allowing her mind to take her to.
And see, I think that's a nice spot to transition. So now that sometimes I can't change my surroundings or who's in that space, that means now I got to change me. Now I got to change the way that I think, the things that I say, where I keep my space, the things that I share, the things that I take in, the things that I let out. If I can't necessarily change my environment, the next thing I can do is change me, right? And so that goes to the second part that we're talking about, where discouragement lives. Discouragement can be external, but the worst discouragement is inside. It's the internal, because nobody out here has to do the work.
Right.
This is when I look in the mirror and I talk negatively about myself. I talk negatively about my situation. I talk negatively about my family, my kids, my marriage, my job, my financial situation, my grass, my house, my church, my community. When I do that, then no one else has to do any work. I'm doing all the work. I'm doing all the negativity for myself. I am disappointing myself. Like, there's no one praying on me. I do the pray on myself, and thus it's self-defeating.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that self-defeat is something that we oftentimes fall victim to. Right? We defeat ourselves before we even try anything. And I think that we exclude ourselves, and we view all of our limitations as weaknesses. And so I once heard there was a pastor, he was preaching this message, and it really changed my perspective on how I parent my kids, right? And so he said this, he said, we are a people that when our kids are not good at math, they're good at English, we push them to put English to the side and give more attention to the math. And then so what happens is that now they're horrible at math still, and they're horrible at English because they put it to the side. Right? And so be comfortable with how you're wired and who you are. It's okay to do things the way that you do them. It's okay to have certain strengths and not have others, right? And we're able to complete one another and do life together. And the problem is discouragement comes in when we view all of the negativity and the things that we don't have a solution for, and we don't look at the strengths that are in us and say, you know what, I may not be able to do that, but I can do this.
Yeah.
And if we can do our best, the things that I have a mentor that really breathes life into my life. And he says, do what's right, do what's best, and God will take care of the rest.
Wow. Gee, I heard you say this one time, and I think this kind of speaks to what you were saying. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said don't major in the minors. Have I heard you say that before?
I have,
It to me, when I heard that, it's like I take all these small things and I make them the biggest things. And I don't give space to the big things. I take the small things and I make them the big things. And I think normally this is referred to, or it's in reference to people that just take these small things and they make them major things. But I think we do that about ourselves. Right? It's like we look at, or we dismiss or take for granted all the things that we do well, and then we magnify the worst parts of our personality and our character. And I think when we do that, we defeat ourselves. Two things G and I were talking about as we were prepping for this episode. One was about me. Actually, it was about something that I said that I did not do well, and I called that a deficiency or a shortcoming or a failure or a flaw. And G immediately recorrected it. He was like, no. And he built me up and he encouraged me. And I think that's something that he's talking about surrounding ourselves with people that will speak into our lives that way. And I think that's good. The second thing, as we were talking about this small part of if we set a goal and we don't reach it, either we accomplish it or we fail.
Right.
And there's no partial success. If G and I were talking about if we set out to make $1 million, G was like, would you be okay with making 500,000? And I was like,
right.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. And oftentimes when we aren't exactly who we want to be, we dismiss the progress that we've made.
That's right.
And that's a version of preying on ourselves with disappointment. If we are unable to have this perspective, remember we've been talking about perspective on Mondays this whole time. If we are unable to highlight and shift our focus on the success and progress we've made, the disappointment will always be an option.
That's right. Well, and again, we started off with emotions. And so when you glean off of your emotions, when you begin to try to trust how you feel, you can't trust how you feel. There's oftentimes that there are decisions that I didn't step into because of how I feel. And I missed the opportunity. And I'm telling you that when you miss opportunity, sometimes it takes a long time for that train to come around again, right? And so there's things that I don't believe in burnout.
We've talked about this before.
I don't believe. Why? Because burnout is simple. Burnout is when you're saying yes to the things you should be saying no to, and saying no to the things you should be saying yes to. And so I think that a lot of times discouragement internally is fueled by self-esteem.
Okay. Tell us more, elaborate.
Right? And so depending on how you value yourself, on how the worth that you see within yourself, on the capabilities that you feel like you can perform under, right?
All under
and
esteem.
so, and so if depending on how you view yourself is how you will allow discouragement to be a part of your life or not.
Whew.
So, so we can't fuel it. We can't put fuel in the tank of discouragement. Discouragement cannot go down the road with us, right? Don't ride the train of discouragement.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. As you were talking, I heard somebody say this, and I will abbreviate it. They essentially said, forget your feelings. This is what they said. They really said the other word. But I think they were kind of at this point where they were like, my feelings have been moving me and pulling me and misleading me. And my feelings is not necessarily my gut. My feelings isn't necessarily my intuition. My feelings are fickle. And so he was like, man, my feelings. Forget my feelings. I want to move in a space where I'm confident, where I feel comfortable. And oftentimes feelings, they can deceive us, right? I think when we talk about, like love, and people, they talk about this ooey gooey feeling of love. I love that I'm in a marriage right now where love is more of a choice than a feeling.
Oh, that's good.
I do feel things about my wife, but the greatest form of love is when I choose her minus my feelings. And I think that we all have something great that makes us passionate and makes us get up for it and we don't burn out. But I think sometimes we get caught in our feelings and we don't choose it. If we can find something that we're passionate about, that we choose every single time, that's where I think the true form of love and admiration comes in.
I love that. So I recently learned something on Forbes magazine.
Forbes.
I was
Okay.
reading Forbes. It came up, and I was reading it. So it's talking about the 4 a.m. rule.
Ooh,
Right,
elaborate.
the 4 a.m. rule,
Tell
and
us.
I was like, okay. So I was not feeling it right away, right? That my emotion,
Right.
but it made so much sense. So it said that that people that are entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, that they wake up at 4 a.m. just because they can choose to wake up at 4 a.m. and not wake up when they need to wake up to go to their regular 9 to 5. So if you have to go into the office at 8 a.m., you have to set the alarm at least by 7 a.m. and it's not your choice.
Yeah.
But if you set it for 4 a.m., you choose to get up at that time, and you're not getting up because you got to go report to a boss or go report to a job. You're getting up because you're choosing, and choice is so important. It's a powerful tool that you have. You get to choose.
Yeah.
And you get to choose not to choose.
Whether you choosing or not choosing, it's
choosing.
a choice. Right. I love that.
So I think that it's important
That's good.
to capture the things that you get to choose to do,
Yeah.
and not allowing your emotions to dictate it, not allowing discouragement to dictate it, not allowing your mindset to dictate it, but that you make a conscious effort to say, you know what, I'm choosing to beat Mondays.
Ooh, and we get to choose how we see Monday.
That's right.
That's what I'm hearing this whole time. Like, some people feel like Monday is chasing after them, that Monday comes again and again, and it's filled with disappointment. But we get to choose not only how we see Monday, but how we engage
That's right.
with Monday. In the same way that we get to choose how we see and engage with the people around us, our situation, our scenario. If we don't like the way Monday feels, we get to change it. If we
That's
don't
right.
like what happens on Monday, we get to change it. If we don't like the way that we engage, we get to choose the way we engage Monday.
That's right.
And that's the whole purpose, the point of the Monday Huddle.
That's right. That's right. So listen, if we said something that just kind of touched your soul,
Yeah.
Quote us right in the comments. Share this thing. Click the little bell. Connect with us. Continue to do life with us. We are so pumped up to give you tools, tips, and tricks to beat your Monday. I'm G.
I'm Derek.
And I will see you next time.
Peace.